So, in comics, we have all types of artists: realistic, cartoony, edgy, abstract, and so on. But there is a rare breed of artists who elevate the medium by doing a style and technique that isn't really associated with comic books, or at least not all that much. A classic style so elegant and masterful that is far more reminiscent of Renaissance art than anything from a graphic novel. Yet such is the case for today's subject, who happens to be one of the greatest examples, if not the very best, of this new wave of timeless illustrators. So, dear viewers, please meet Joshua Middleton, one of the most elegant, sophisticated, dashing, and timeless comic book artists of all time. With an exquisitely polished, visually striking style that can sometimes seem a little quiet, perhaps, Joshua avoids detail saturation by focusing instead on lighting, shadow, and anatomy, providing some of the finest figure work in the medium, which is honestly so impressive that could very well be featured in the most prestigious of museums. Joshua is also a master of several different things, such as beauty, anatomy, realism, composition, and of course, redheads. But more on that later. Actually, Joshua's work covers so much ground that it's kinda hard to choose what to focus on, but I'll try my best. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but he entered my radar when he began doing the art for Meridian, which was a comic for the short-lived publisher CrossGen. And I really do have to say that right from the start, you could see not only his great talent, but the way his style was evolving issue by issue, month by month, until eventually showing signs of the artist he is now. After Meridian, Joshua was quickly grabbed by Marvel, where he began doing the art and covers of the critically acclaimed series Nyx, where he was nominated for his first Eisner Award for Best Cover Artist. By the way, Nyx would become notorious for being the series in which X-23 made her comic book debut. So naturally, with all this much buzz surrounding the fresh-faced artist, Joshua signed an exclusive contract with DC, working on the critically acclaimed Superman Shazam First Thunder, where he got to display his storytelling skills in full splendor. Joshua later became the cover artist for Supergirl for over a year, providing some of the best and most memorable covers in the whole run. However, he gained a lot of praise for his cover run on Vixen's first miniseries, On Vixen: The Return of the Lion, where he got to display his great versatility. Joshua eventually did covers for Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, as well as several other variant covers for different titles. Though his best-known cover work run has got to be his critically acclaimed run as the cover artist for Rebirth's Aquaman, for which he did almost 50 issues, which is most of the run. Outside of comics, Joshua has done extensive work for Warner Brothers Animation, serving as a character designer for Batman Superman Public Enemies, All-Star Superman, and Green Lantern First Flight, as well as Scooby-Doo and the Franken Monster and Justice League Adventures Trapped in Time, eventually becoming an art director on the Green Lantern animated series. Joshua also got to work on The Legend of Korra for Nickelodeon, until he eventually left animation to return to comics. Now, this will seem silly to you, but every artist I greatly admire, I just want to see doing Catwoman somehow. And on 2014 and 2016, I finally got my wish. At first, when he did a Halloween variant cover for Catwoman 35, until eventually becoming the main cover artist for Catwoman from issue 47 until the cancellation of the book. And every cover, no matter how dark, simple, or even experimental, was completely and utterly gorgeous. My only real complaint is that he never really got to do more. In fact, next to Adam and Jim, I think Joshua has got to be one of the best cover artists Catwoman has ever had. And for those vocal people who complain about the sexualizing of the character, well, Joshua was so careful not to go there that he actually toned down the spice appeal of the character so much that you could easily forget Selina Kyle is by far the most gorgeous woman in DC. Though if there's something Joshua never dials back the spiciness on, it's redheads, specifically Poison Ivy. You see, under Joshua's pen or pencil, Ivy shines in a light like no other and radiates a beauty that is just staggering. Now, I'm not trying to be rude, and I may be going on a limb here, but I feel that Joshua Middleton, next to Brian Apthorpe, draw the most strikingly beautiful poison ivy of them all. And no one really compares or competes with these two, at least not when they draw poison ivy. Because regardless of the situation or the cover or whatever, Joshua's Pamela is prime ivy. And speaking of redheads, Joshua seems to have an affinity to them, or at least it seems, as he also excelled at illustrating Batgirl, having an impressive long cover run for Batgirl's Rebirth series. And I do have to say that aside from drawing an incredibly beautiful Batgirl, his Batgirl covers are some of the very best work he has ever done. And I don't think I've ever seen a classier, more elegant Batgirl than Joshua's version. And to complete the trinity of redheads, Joshua also got to work on one of the most iconic redheads in comics, Red Sonja, for which he also created some of the very best depictions of the character we've ever seen, and for which he managed to not only do the character justice, but maintain an elegance and respect for the character we don't really usually see. And I don't mean that to knock the other artists, but just look at these. This is a masterclass of ass with class. And please pardon my French. Now, you could easily be confused into thinking that Joshua works digitally. But in reality, even though he does know his way around digital tools, Joshua actually tends to work traditionally, only to then enhance certain things in post-production, which may be perhaps what makes his work so extraordinary, as it's basically the perfect balance, or the best from both worlds. By the way, for those wondering what happens to the original pieces, well, Joshua sells them for prices that range all the way from $5,000 to $7,000, which may seem much, but I think is a fair price given the high quality. Obviously, as it is to be expected with art of this caliber, artwork this impressive requires time to make, and so Joshua has mostly focused on cover work, rather than interiors, as a way to cover more ground, though Joshua has covered just about every area and genre you can think of, while always maintaining the same level of excellence. And it really would seem like there's really no character, composition, or situation Joshua isn't capable of nailing down. Everything he touches turns to gold, and so he has become one of the industry's greatest talents, and one who truly deserves far more love. But what do you think? Do you like Joshua's work? As always, thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Be safe and well. And remember that art has the power to wash away the soul from all the dust of the everyday life.